Hi, good morning. Hello?
Hello.
Hi. Oh, hi, Rufus. Oh,
Hi.
wow, look at you. You're like me, way early.
Yeah. Yeah, no way early, but
And for a musician, no less. I
yeah.
mean, this is what is happening?
Well, I have a 14-year-old child.
Yes, I know about that. And
Yeah,
so
I have to I have
you have to wake up early to breastfeed?
Yeah. Yeah, I have to be on call basically 24/7 for any kind of horrific situation.
Absolutely,
And
I understand.
is that better? Okay.
You look
Okay.
very thin. You look really thin
Really?
on this. Is that what
Oh,
you said you're
honey.
going for?
Well, I was more going for Marlene and Dietrich, but thin will work.
Well, Finn and Marlene Dietrich. Rufus, first of all, well, there's a lot to talk about.
Yes.
Dream Requiem, which is what we're here to talk about. But first, I
Yes.
wanted just to mention a couple of things. I know that the Trump campaign used your song Hallelujah,
Yes.
your
Yes.
Leonard Cohen cover Hallelujah, and you were pissed about that. So, I was curious about that too. Like, obviously, your agents and managers or whomever get involved, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was pissed, but I think above pissed, I was more just sort of flabbergasted and completely, shocked. In the sense that just because it was also so weird how it was used. Like it wasn't just used as a rally, ending thing where people are always shaking hands. He turned it into this sort of, group dance / prayer moment of
Ugh.
seeking forgiveness and yeah, and that just was yeah, it was a horrified shockness. And then I was
It's
pissed and then
Yeah,
called the people.
I'm shocked and horrified. And I'm not, first of all,
Yeah.
I'm not Catholic or religious
Yeah.
in any way, shape, or
Yeah.
form. I'm shocked and horrified when they use any sort of religious, backdrop, or there are
Yeah.
people praying with him. I find that so
Yeah.
offensive
Yeah.
to
Okay.
real religion. Like,
Yeah. I have a little bit of a scoop for you though
oh, great, we love that.
regarding this. I don't think I've talked about this yet, but it's sort of out there a little bit. But so that happened, right? And this is before he won the election. Or yeah, I guess he won the election.
He won, Rufus. We're living in hell. And to answer your previous question, I'm in Canada right now.
Yeah. I'm in Canada right now, for real. I'm in
Well, you're
Toronto. Are you in-
Canadian. I'm trying to
Yeah.
become Canadian.
Okay. Are you really in Canada? Where are you?
I'm in Whistler. Yeah, I spend my
right. Okay. So
Yeah.
we're both in exile and probably will remain so for a few years. But no, anyways, but what happened is that he won the election, and then the first one of the first visitors that he had was Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, our ex Prime Minister. And so he went down, and I'd met Justin a couple of times, on Grindr, and I'm just kidding. And and then but anyway, so then I got a call a few days later from Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister, telling me that he said, I got this funny story for you. And so I answered the phone. Yes, Mr. Prime Minister, make me laugh. And he said that when he was down in Mar-a-Lago, they were sitting together, and at one point, Hallelujah came up on the sound system in the ballroom, but it was Andrea Bocelli's version of Hallelujah, the song. And at which point, Trump turned to Justin Trudeau and said, "You know Rufus's version, right?" And then Justin Trudeau said, "Oh yes, I know Rufus's version, but you have to give Jeff Buckley some credit because he's the first person to cover the song." At which point, I'm on the phone with Justin Trudeau, like, "Wait a minute, you
Yeah.
brought up the Jeff Buckley." Like I started to whatever. I was a bit riled.
Well, I also find
internally.
I also find it a bit surprising that Trump is aware of different covers of that song.
I don't know. Well, he is, but so then Justin said to him, yes, but you have to give, Jeff Buckley some credit. At which point Trump said, "Oh, okay, well, maybe." 20 minutes later, Trump walked up to Justin and said, "Rufus's version is really the best version." At which point Justin went, "Yes, it is the best version." So in terms of like Hallelujah versions, I'm a total Trumpian, but that's about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad. I mean, what an endorsement. Trump believes that yours is the best version of Hallelujah.
I
So you
know.
got
So
that, I guess. Yeah.
yeah, no, that's that look. I've been seeking that for years. So and it's all I've ever wanted really is to be acknowledged as the greatest singer of Hallelujah. Um, forget my operas, forget my children,
Absolutely.
you know.
So let's talk Dream Requiem, because I
Yes.
know that you have Jane Fonda is going to. So is she narrating it? Is that the proper
Yes,
terminology?
what it is that many years ago I discovered this amazing poem by Byron called Darkness, and he wrote it during in 1814, which was this year that there was this incredible, insane not earthquake. What's another thing that we're about to have? Um,
Economic crash?
volcano,
Oh, okay.
volcano that went off, that erupted, that went off in Southeast Asia, and the entire world was dark for a year. There was no seasons, and everybody thought the world was ending. It was the year that Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein. So it was like the most kind of gothic
Oh, wow.
year.
And that
So
was 1814, you said?
yeah, it's the most gothic year except for this year.
Uh-huh.
We've now eclipsed that. But so anyway, so then he
So you
wrote
took
that
that
poem.
poem.
So as I fell in love with the poem, it's all about the end of the world and it's about like ecological collapse. And then I was composing this Requiem mass, and I decided to put them together, and I was maybe going to compose the word music to the English words, but English is crap. and this and unless it's like rock and roll or rap, it sounds terrible if it's sung operatically. So I quickly shifted it and said, oh, we'll have a narrator, which in the end has turned out to be an amazing kind of trick. I don't want to say trick, ploy, and where because it premiered in Paris and we had Meryl Streep there as the narrator, and we had that recording is available on Warner Classics, and yeah, and Jane has been is doing it in L.A. Have you heard anything about how she got the job?
No, tell us.
Well, I look, Jane and I have. I know you're friends too, or
Yeah.
you've hung out. Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I'd run into her over the years here and there, but we never quite, bonded. But we were at this. I had just done the Requiem in Paris with Meryl, and we were at the Hammer Gala in L.A. And I went there and I was with my husband and Jorn, and he we arrived and I saw Jane and we kind of ended up in just the same corner. We just started talking and it started to click. We just started to jive, as they say. Is it jive or jibe? I don't know. I'm so white. Anyways,
I think it's jibe, but I'm also white.
Okay.
So who fucking knows?
Okay, we were doing something cool, and it was weird. But so we're talking, and then I said to her, and I started talking about the Dream Requiem, and I said, we did it in Paris with Meryl, and actually it's coming to L.A. And we don't have a narrator yet, but it's going to come to Disney Halls with the master chorale, and at the end of that little speech, Jane turned to me and she said, "Rufus, I'm doing it." I was like, "Excuse me?" She's like, "No, I will do it with you." She immediately hired herself, which I mean, I was overjoyed, also a little shocked, and then it's just from there on, we've been hanging out a lot, and she's come to a few of my shows, and she's just so like when she wants something or loves
Yes.
something,
Yeah, she's very present.
Yeah, yeah, and so I'm just I don't know, I felt very. It's been one of the great kind of things in my life in the midst of all of this darkness and stuff.
So when is this performance in
Its
LA?
performance is in LA. It's May the 4th
Mm-hmm.
at Disney Hall. It's also with the Master Chorale, which is probably the greatest choir in
Wow.
America.
Yeah, even I know who they are.
Yeah, no, they're amazing. And look, it's something I don't in any way look, as much as Trump likes to think that he rules the world, I kind of would like to say, well, maybe Trump, you exist because I wrote death mass and is premiering at the perfect time. So you're just the backdrop to my music. So I'm kind of trying to turn it around because it is eerie how, just the whole, the apocalyptic,
Yeah.
dark, it's a perfect thing to be putting out right now. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, it's also, I don't know where I read this, what book I read this in, probably my favorite book, Letting Go, but it's about being like, even in times of strife or when the world is a dark place, there are people who could create art and people who can thrive within the darkness and not off of the darkness. I'm not talking about like to the tech billionaires and all of that. I'm saying people who can thrive, who make something happen even amidst all the darkness and continue to thrive.
Yeah, well, I am very much fueled. I'm, as you said, not fueled by the darkness, but I am how can I say this? I am attuned to that sensibility in my work. I've always loved opera. I've always loved, written ballads and very, intense music. So yes, artistically, I'm in a very good place. But it was funny when you bring up the tech bros, because they have no artistic sense whatsoever. I mean, what's so kind of horrific about that whole situation is that their idea of art is like, like the Mona Lisa, them dressed as the Mona Lisa or something, with like a banana in the background. They just have no aesthetic sense or anything. So they're not even, I don't know, like artistically, they cannot be. So it's up to me.
Right. Well,
it's up to true artists,
to actually show up.
Yeah, and they think they're artists. They think they're artists.
Well, do they think they're artists though? I mean, they're clearly
everything.
Devoid of.
They think they're everything. They think they're just everything.
Yeah,
anyway,
right.
Sorry.
Right. So can you?
They think they're sexy too, which is pretty.
Yeah. Well, that's the most revolting part. The sex, the assumed sex appeal is so revolting. I mean, I can't think of any group of guys that are less fuckable than all of those guys. Talk to me about Dream Requiem. So tell me how you would. First of all, I hate this question when I'm asked how I would to describe one of my shows, but I'm going to ask you without saying those words.
Yeah. No, I'm a big, as I said before, classical music fan, but the first piece that really got me going when I was 13 was Verdi's Requiem. The composer Verdi, he wrote this amazing Requiem. It's one of the great ones. And I just became obsessed with it, and it sort of began my whole journey in that realm. It was a little freakish for my dad, especially who's not a big opera fan, to see his 13-year-old son in the corner in the dark with headphones on, listening to Day of Wrath and stuff like that. So, but I stuck it out, or everybody stuck it out, and now I've written several classical works and also pop works and all that stuff. And now I just feel like it's time to give back to that. I will say, are you Catholic at all, or you're probably anti? You hate?
I'm not anything at all.
Were you brought up Catholic, or?
I was brought up Jewish, actually.
You were brought up Jewish. Okay, sorry. Okay, there you go. I am not anything. I'm not even baptized Catholic. I was brought up in a Catholic environment. My mother was Catholic, and I went to Catholic school, and
How was that?
well, it wasn't great in a sense, but it was really, they really ingrained it in you in the sense that I was a little shocked when I went to compose it and I was working with all of those prayers, the Latin Mass.
Wow.
Just how fast it came out, and how it's just like wired into me, for better or for worse. Probably more for worse in a lot of ways.
That's how I am with state capitals. Those are wired into me.
That sounds nice. So I just started composing it, and then and it just came out really fast. And it's just one of these things where, the idea came, and then I said, okay, that sounds like a nice idea. I'd like to see if anybody's interested. And we asked Paris first. And then within 2 months, there was 10 commissioners, 10 cities all over the world that wanted to do it. There was a real kind of need for it. It was right after COVID. So I think people were, they were pretty gloomy.
Yeah.
And so I think they could relate to that. The other thing, which do you know anything about the dog situation?
No, I don't know anything about anything except.
This is interesting, because the Requiem it's dedicated to two individuals. The first one is dedicated to Verdi, the composer, because
Okay.
of that. But then the second dedication is to Puccini, who's
Okay.
most people would think is an opera composer, which he is. But Puccini, and I say this in the thing, it was is used to be our little dog. We had a dog named
Aw.
Puccini, and actually within the poem, Byron's poem, Byron adored dogs, and in the poem, there's a dog that dies in the middle of the poem. It's kind of the most touching moment of the piece, or one of the many touching moments, and my husband and I, we had a little dog named Puccini, and so we dedicated it also to the little dog. So yeah,
Hmm.
there's a big dog element to the piece as well for dog lovers. So if you
And
hate
so,
opera,
but it's a whole opera, right? It's not just one piece.
no, it's one piece. It's
It's
one
only
piece.
one piece.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
okay.
it's a mass, and it starts with some of the poem, and then it goes into the mass. Like the choir sings all the religious mass stuff, and then the poem is recited by the narrator. And at a certain point, they intertwine. But it's 75 minutes. Like there's no intermission or anything. It's just there. You're in and you're out, and yeah. So it's I'm very excited about it. I mean, I don't know if I've been fighting years and years and years to make it into, the classical world, and it seems like I've done it with this piece of music, which is very exciting.
Mm.
Of course, right at the time that I did that, I wrote a musical in London called Opening Night, which totally flopped. So I kind of the Broadway world kind of, or the West End world in London kind of, gave me the boot right as the classical world opened. So it's been an interesting journey. You
So
always got to
so
get you always got to have the door shut down on you at some point.
well, a door shut down on you right before a different door opens.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you
I
can
mean,
never have just the door open and it's all
that's
great.
a
There's always
cliche because, or
yeah.
well, an adage, I suppose, because it's true. I mean, that does happen. So, talk to me about it artistically, how that makes you feel. Like when you are rejected and then
Yes.
you are accepted into a different world. Like, how do you
Yeah.
balance
Yeah.
those emotions?
Yeah. No. I when I did the musical opening night, which by the way we did record and we're releasing it, the soundtrack album, and the songs are great, and I think the piece was actually kind of great. It was just a little out there it was based on the John Cassavetes movie at Opening Night. Anyways, so yes, I was so depressed when that whole thing collapsed, and to the point where I had to go on medication and stuff. Like it
Really?
was pretty dark. I mean, there was a lot of other things happening, um, but that was kind of took me down.
And
And
has that
then
happened to you before, professionally, creatively?
um, it's happened to me once before,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't kind of seek treatment for it. I was more I just sort of white knuckled it through the whole thing, and but this time I just needed a little bit of help, and I got it, and it was great. I was able to come back, but right as that was happening, the Requiem was premiering in Paris, and I had Meryl Streep there sitting next to me listening to it for the first time, and I was able to appreciate how special the whole thing was, and how lucky I was to be in that situation. But yes, there was this gnawing sort of um sense, which didn't which sort of limited me in my joy at the time of my greatest triumph.
Right.
Which
So, but let's talk about that because I think that is very relatable to, not only people in the industry, but
well
I think people, a lot of things, you get good news or you get bad news and it's hard to kind of pick yourself up from that. And like when you look back at that time, do you think that there was anything you would have done differently or that you will do differently in the future if something like
yeah.
that were to happen again?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm speaking of religions and stuff. I mean, I don't want to do it, but I guess, you have to be sort of Buddhist about it and say, you have to let go of that attachment and that kind of
Mm-hmm.
idea of being, fulfilled by
Yes.
your
Right.
ego or whatever. And so that's probably the wise way to do it is just to not try to feel nothing a little bit, in a sense, or just be, very low key about it. But I do, look, then I wrote 10 songs in my
Right.
in the depths of my sadness that I'm now going to put on a pop record. And so it's also for an art. I think that's actually more what I struggle with is just, and that I've realized now in my 50s is that there is this kind of machine that I've created where, I get depressed and then I write songs and then I feel better, but then I got to get depressed in order to write a song. And then in order, it's this cycle that, certainly creates a lot of material but it is a little bit diabolical at times.
Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure it is. I mean, that's the life of an artist, typically, right?
And it's a good. I think we're fortunate, but when I see people, young people especially, when they're like, "Oh, I want to be an artist," and it's I'm I my first sort of comment will usually be to say, well, you can't tell me you want to be an artist. You have to be an artist.
Mhm.
like you are an artist, and good luck.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
No, it's not like anyone really takes care of you as an artist emotionally. And I'm not sure in what world you are taken care of emotionally, unless it's by your spouse or, your family. But at a certain point, like when you go through all of the highs and lows of having any career, a public career also, you start to learn to rely on yourself for your emotional well-being. You're like, no one can help me with this. Yes, you can talk to a therapist, and of course you can, go on medication in like incremental times or whenever you need it, whatever. But no one takes care of you. And like, I think as an artist, there's this attitude, at least I had this attitude younger, like when things didn't go right, like you fix it, you do the, and like, yes, while that can be many people's responsibilities in your life, you actually are just have to take the emotional burden of everything. It's your name on it. It's your failure or success, and then it's your pressure.
Yeah, and then in the end, it's your glory. When it comes to fruition. But at that glorious moment, there's always a chink in the armor.
Always.
Which is.
It would be great It would be great to figure out a way, and I'm good at this sometimes, but not foolproof. Like to welcome the failure, to welcome the pain, bring it on, because every time you have a failure, we all know that a rainbow is around the corner, something happens. So it would be
I have a little thing to do with that, which I kind of relate to yin and yang, where anytime I'm happy, anytime I'm somewhat euphoric, I just always say, look, I'm going to take a little piece of this and hide it somewhere so that when I'm in the dark, I can, pull it out and use it as a kind of flashlight. But I think it's something you have to cognizant. You just you have to cognitively do.
Practice.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back with Rufus Wainwright. And we're back with Rufus Wainwright. Hi. Okay. We're going to take some callers, Rufus. Are you down? Are you ready to rumble?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready to rumble.
Well, before we get to advice, Rufus, I have to tell you that my husband, who's the engineer here, who was floating around here on the Zoom, you are actually the reason that we met.
Really?
In 2005, I went to go see your concert at Ravinia in August in 2005, and was going with a friend. We met at the friend's house ahead of time, and who should walk out but this dreamy, tall guy? And here we are 20 years later.
Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, beautiful.
I saw you, Rufus, at some small place in Santa Monica a few years ago. Maybe not a few, maybe 10. At some it was really fun though. It was only it was a small room with 100 people, and everyone was getting down to business.
It was. I think it was McCabe's or something.
Yes, it was McCabe's.
Yeah. Those were great shows. Those were fun shows.
Yeah,
those were fun shows.
All right. Well, we'll jump into advice. Our first question is just an email, not a caller. So this question comes from Tina. Subject line is son's sexual preference. Dear Chelsea, I've been a fan of your podcast for a number of years. I love what you stand for and the advice that you give on your podcast. I listen every morning when I walk my dog before work. I'm a 47-year-old single mom with 3 children who are all grown. I like to think of myself as very open-minded and progressive when it comes to most things. I've always made it very clear to my children that whatever road they choose in their sexuality is their choice and free from judgment, and then this happened. My 21-year-old son told me tonight that he's dating a trans person, a woman who has been transitioning to be a man. I maintained complete composure and acted cool, but inside I was really just feeling a little bit of turmoil.
I love that honesty. I maintained composure.
Yes. My son is the most beautiful, sweet, kind, and best person ever, and all I want for him is to be happy. I've always known or suspected that he was gay or otherwise, but I guess I'm just scared for him. But at the same time, so proud of him for just loving another human, regardless of their sexual identity or preference. I guess I'm asking for help on navigating through our extended family, some of which, including my sister and her husband, are very conservative. My mama bear instincts are out, and I think I'm feeling more protective than judgmental for him, but also feeling a little bit confused of my own feelings about the situation. Many thanks, Tina.
I think this is easy, Tina. Like, I don't think you have to make any proclamations or announcements to your family, like your extended family. Like, first of all, get to know your son's new love interest and spend time with them, and like, and just keep opening your heart and your mind, because you're going to learn lots of things that you didn't know about, and that's going to really normalize the situation. And you kind of calling attention to it too, even though I understand you're being a protective mama bear, because I'm a mother and I know what that feels like. I'm more of a father, but you like it like putting an exclamation point on everything, I don't think is helpful. Like, I think you should just act like with grace and normalcy. Like, this is normal. When they meet the person, whether or not they realize that they're trans or not is inconsequential to you. Like, that's not something that you need to like preface or tell them before. Like, let them deal with the situation. And when it comes around, I would suggest just going, I didn't think that was information that was necessary, because you're protecting, like, by telling your sister and her husband who are more conservative, you're protecting them. You're not protecting your son. Like, you're protecting their feelings and making sure they have all the cards. They don't need all the cards. This isn't their love life. This is your son's love life. So all you can do is show up for him in a really responsible and present way. Rufus, what do you think?
Well, I wanted to, I totally agree with what you're saying, but I also want to sort of praise her for even being, open to stuff, because my mother, mind you, this was back in the 80s. When she found out I was gay, she had a cigarette in one hand and a scotch in the other, and she said, "Rufus, don't tell me something I don't want to hear."
Uh-oh.
So I was, so I think it's, so I'm someone who, whenever I hear a parent who's, really trying to do the right thing, it's so important and should be really, really celebrated. Because unfortunately still, I just hear these horror stories with parents who are just out of their mind, when this stuff comes up. And so yes.
And I think that just like you're like
you're being the dad, I'm being the mom.
Yeah, well, perfect. We're parenting perfectly. I also think like open. Just keep your mind open. Like, you're going to learn things. You're going to be surprised by the things you learn, and just be open-hearted and open-minded with anything we're unfamiliar with.
Yourself.
What's that?
Be proud of yourself for
be proud of yourself and just keep thinking, like, I understand the protective aspect, but like, we're not there yet. You don't have to, don't worry about your son's happiness is paramount to anything else. Like, just be open to that and open to understanding his world. And that way you're going to set the foundation for him to be always comfortable coming to you, talking to you about these things, talking to you about these issues. And you want to just, the last thing you want to be is shut out from any of that. So yes, just move forward with grace and open-heartedness.
Yeah. And I will also say, just like a tiny asterisk, I think she did a really good job just like containing any fear or confusion that she might have had.
Composing herself.
Yeah, composing herself. But one tiny asterisk, Tina, is just on the sexual preference language. Nowadays we say more like sexual orientation, because it really is part of somebody's identity, not a choice really that they're making. Mm-hmm. And I think once you get to know this person, I think the only scary thing is having not ever met a trans person. And once you get to know them, you're like, oh, they're just a person. You know, they just act like everybody else.
Yeah.
They're just a
That
person.
was a sort of end of my mother's story, which is kind of nice, and maybe it softens it a bit. Is that, you know, when I finally did come out to her, we were in Paris, and she went to Notre Dame Cathedral, and as I said, she was brought up Catholic, so she went and she prayed, and she claims that she got a message from somewhere that said, you know, Rufus is like any other person. You just have to treat him like any other person. And it is that message, I think, that comes out eventually, that we're all just people, and that's it.
Yeah, that message that needs to be transmitted to the entire world.
Yes.
That a human being is a human being, regardless of anything else.
Yes. Well, our next question comes from Amber. Amber says, Dear Chelsea, I met someone in the coolest way. We met in a hot tub in Michigan. I live in Washington and he lives in New York. He's my best friend and he totally gets me. I never thought I'd meet someone like him. I know he is the one. Oh. I have a great career in Washington and a fantastic community and friends. He has 2 kiddos and not the best job prospects where he lives. I'm so torn because I love my life, but I also love him. What do I do? It's important to know I'm turning 40 this year and have never been married. I want to marry this man. Hopeless in Washington, Amber.
Hi, Amber. This is Rufus Wainwright, our special guest today. Okay, so you don't want to live. You fell in love in a hot tub in Michigan. You don't want to leave Washington because your whole life is there.
Yeah.
And what state is he in?
He's in New York.
Oh, okay. So you'd have to move to New York. What part of New York?
Like rural, like northern New York, like close to the Canadian border.
Oh, okay. Well, that is a pickle because we're not talking about any major city here. Yikes! I mean, that could be good to be close to the border for other reasons.
How far is it from Montreal?
Well, we actually went to Toronto like last month.
Oh, it's near Toronto. Okay.
Yeah, like he drove like 4 hours to Toronto, and then I flew to
4 hours to Toronto. Okay, that is far.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if you're in love and you know it and you feel it and you're 40 and you're ready to take a plunge for somebody, then you got to do what you got to do. I wouldn't want to move there, but I'm not in love with anyone that lives there.
That is so true. But like, you know, I have like this whole community here. I bought a house. Like my friends are here. My job is here. Although, will I have a job in a few months? I don't know because it's grant funded.
Lovely.
Sure. And now I assume that like he can't move because of the kids, right? Like a custody situation.
How old are the kids?
11 and 2.
What? 2? Well, that's another doozy. You're going to raise a 2-year-old with him?
I mean, I used to work with kids. I love kids. I don't want kids. And then he doesn't want any more. He's had a vasectomy. It's fantastic. Like, I don't have to worry.
He sounds he sounds like a good option minus the
Are you interested in sort of being in a child's life in a major way, even though it's not your own? Does that interest you?
Yeah, totally. I have a lot of friends with kids and I love their kids and I love being like the best friends, you know, auntie, you know, but I don't want to be their mom. They have moms. They're good.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you lose your job in a couple of months, say that happens, you know, I hope it doesn't happen, but say that does happen. Does that make you would that make it easier for you to move to New York?
Yeah, I mean, it would. It's just, I think it's not even about the job or the location. It's just when you're at my age, it's harder to, you know, make friends and build this community. And I have like built this amazing friendship and a community of people here. And it's taken a while to build that. Right. Mm-hmm. And then you go to rural New York and you don't know anybody. It's going to be really hard to make those friendships, but also he's like my best friend. So there's that. And I could always visit and fly. And I have that ability.
And you can't just keep it long distance for the time being?
We're making plans. We're seeing each other like every other month or so. We talk every night. And we've kind of built like little things that are special to us for being long distance. So I told him, I said, I could do this for about a year, but then that's it. I'm done.
What do you, when you say you built little things, what does that mean? Like, what's an example of built little things?
Yeah. So like every morning I send him a picture of what I'm wearing to work that day, just like every day.
And then he sends you a dick pic?
Those are fun, actually. But only from him.
Sometimes.
I've never wanted them before, actually. But now I'm like, I don't mind them so much.
I'm still waiting to meet the guy that makes me want to see a dick pic. So
I never thought I would be that way either, Chelsea. Seriously, but it is.
Amber, you are in love.
Yeah, you
Is
are.
there a way for you to go there for like 2 months or 3 months, like an extended vacation, so you have a sort of a sense of what just being there over like a week is like?
I wish. The nice thing is I'm actually gonna go next month to like see where he lives and see the neighborhood and just see what it would be like for like a weekend. But because of my job, I'm a program director and they need me in the office to handle my staff. It'd be cool if I had like a remote job and could kind of be bi-coastal.
Well, I think that you should definitely if you're okay with this for a year, great. Take a year. Go see his neighborhood the next time you're going there and spend the weekend there. But you have to plan a time where you're going to spend a longer duration of time there in this year that you're talking about. And if you do lose your job, then that opens you up to get a job where you can be bi-coastal. So then you can have the best of both worlds. Because is there a situation where you would keep your house on the West Coast in Washington and then also kind of go back and forth if you had a bi-coastal job? I mean, that's what you mean, right?
Yeah, I think I could totally manage that. I have a dog, but I have a place where she could go that she loves. So like I could make it work for a couple of years if I wanted to.
Yeah, I think that's what you should do. I wouldn't make any rash decisions just yet. You know what I mean? Just start spending time there. Spend as much time there as you can so you can really get a feel for the place and see if that excites you. Like, are you going to be okay living there? Hopefully you can just be bi-coastal because I think any successful so many long-distance relationships are successful because of the distance. Like, I know we all want to like jump into each other's arms and everyone wants to shack up, but it's also, there's something to be said for missing each other, for keeping the fire burning, for not living with somebody all the time and getting used to all their shit and them throwing wet towels on the fucking dry bed. All of that stuff, you know what I mean? Takes kind of the romance out of...
And start to resent their dick pics.
Yeah, you're going to start to resent his dick pics. But because how many months have you guys been seeing each other now as we speak?
So it's complicated because I've known him for a year. But when we've been talking and seeing each other, but we've kind of like made it official like last month sometime.
Okay. Yeah. So give it some more time, please.
Yeah.
Just be smart about it. You're 40 years old. You're not going to, I just want you to look at that community that you built, in Washington, like as a very sacred thing. Like a lot of people yearn for that. A lot of people don't have that. So I really want you to make sure that's more valuable in my opinion in your life than anything or any love affair. Like that is your community and that is your group. So just be very respectful of that and don't toss it away lightly.
Oh, no, I wouldn't. Yeah, no, I have been so lucky and blessed with my friendships and the friends that I have. They've really stepped up. Like I've had surgeries and they've stepped up to help with my dog and me. And I just feel so lucky to have what I have here. And that's why it's not so easy as it might be for some people to be like, oh, it's not a big deal. I'll just move. And it's like, I have everything here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, just keep that in mind with everything, right? Like put that at the top of your list. That is at the top of your list. Even your love affair is number 2.
Yeah.
So remember that.
I will. Yeah, no, that's super helpful to hear. I really appreciate it because I've been really stuck. But I will say, Chelsea, you are the reason I'm not married.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that kind of feedback.
No, like I always thought when I was like in my 20s, I had to, get married and let a man take care of me. And I realize now I'm like, I take care of myself. I can pay my own bills and I can buy my own house and my own car. And I can be the breadwinner.
Yeah, Rufus and I were just talking before you came on about taking care of ourselves emotionally as artists, right? And I think this is also a good kind of point of interest to talk about is that women we're all able to take care of ourselves in every possible way, yet we're always looking for someone to lean on, for whether it's financially or emotionally or spiritually. Like, we want someone who knows more than we do or that we can go to when we have the capabilities within us to take care of ourselves in every way, so I think it's a great reminder, and I think a lot of women who are listening today are going to respond to that and think about, are they taking care of themselves? Have they built the life that they want for themselves? Because we all have the ability to do that. It's about going to a place that you love, building your community, building your friendships. That does take time. It doesn't happen instantly, not for everyone anyway. And certainly, I'm sure not for you, right? Did it happen right away or did it take time?
It definitely took time where I realized I can buy a house. I can do it on my own. And I've been on my own since I was 16. So it took a while to figure out that I didn't need a man to rescue me, that I could just rescue myself and I could do it all and it would be fine. And it's been great. I love my life, like I said, and I don't need someone to pay my bills because I can pay them. I can do it all and I don't need anybody else, but it'd be nice to have someone by my side.
Yes, absolutely.
Alongside with me. I don't need anybody.
Great.
It's just having that best friend that's just walking alongside you in life.
Absolutely. And they can walk alongside you, across the country. It's not like you're across the world for the time being anyway. So, right.
Yeah.
Just picture each other walking, picture him and you walking towards each other at a very slow pace.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that sounds like you've got a plan. You're going to wait a little bit. You're going to wait a year, figure it out, spend some more time there, and we're in agreement. We're all in accord. Okay.
Hey.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Love it. Thanks for calling
Amber.
in.
Thank you.
Everyone, have a good day.
Bye. Well, she was probably the most sensible person that we've had call in for advice ever.
Yes. And FYI, I want someone to pay my bills.
I know. I'm at the point where I would also like that too, Rufus. Let's fucking be honest. I've been paying my bills and a lot of other people's bills for a really fucking long time. And I would like to commingle funds with another very wealthy person.
Yes.
Well, our next caller is Katie. Katie is 35. She says, "You're Chelsea. I know I'm not the only one in this situation, but it sure feels that way sometimes. I have one sibling, my twin brother, who's married, and they've blessed me with a nephew and a little niece. So that relationship factors into my question because it's just my brother and I. I haven't spoken to my mom or dad. He's more just collateral damage since I can't get to him without her being a part of it since November 2021. My relationship with my mom has been complicated for a long time, but the final straw was how she interfered with my relationship with the love of my life, an interracial relationship she never fully accepted.
Ugh.
We've since split for other reasons, but it doesn't change how she acted.
Yeah.
After giving her too many chances, I finally cut contact, and honestly, my life has been better for it. Here's the problem. She just turned 70, and I know time isn't infinite. I feel at peace with staying no contact, but the idea of getting that call one day where it's too late makes me wonder, will I regret not trying? Am I just grieving the mother I wish I had, or should I make some sort of move before it's too late? Or is this just one of those painful realities you have to sit with? Would love to hear your take, Katie.
Hi, this is Rufus Wainwright, our special guest today. First of all, I find that kind of behavior, like any sort of racist, misogynist kind of anything that falls under that umbrella, to be kind of unforgivable. You can learn and make mistakes and come back, and that's fine. But if that's just the way you're going to be and that's your attitude. So I think that what you could do to just get your feelings down on paper is to write, like, now that you're not in the relationship, to let her know. Does she know that you're not in the relationship anymore?
Yeah, she did. My brother let them know, but a little bit of a plot twist. We have gotten back together. So it's a little bit.
It's still the issue.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Great. Well, then
yeah, which is great for me. Yeah. I mean, I'm so happy. And my brother and his family are really supportive of us. And so, I don't know. I just feel like I'm in this weird, I was going along fine. And then all of a sudden it was like, when she turned 70, I was just like, oh my God, I had this weird pressure. Like, I need to do something. I don't know, but I'm so curious what you think about if it's okay to just stay. I mean, if I had it my way, I would just continue the way I've been continuing. It's been really good for me to have no contact. but I'm like, am I
Yeah.
missing an opportunity for growth here? I don't know.
I think you have an opportunity to write down how that made you feel, and to write down kind of like, now that you're looking back at the situation, regardless that you got back together, that's great. Good for you. I'm glad you guys worked it out. But just upon reflection, like, now that you've had time, how long has it been since you said November 2021, right? So that's been enough years to have a reflection. I'm sure she's had some thoughts about it too. So I think it'd be nice to write a letter, like send her an email or a written letter, however you see fit, just expressing how that made you feel, how your own mother could turn against you based on the color of someone's skin. Like, just not in a vitriolic way, but just in a confounded way. Like, you are my mother. You were supposed to love me unconditionally for the rest of my life and support me and guide me. And to find out that my mother had these feelings about someone makes me question everything I was raised with, you know? Like, this makes me question the kind of person I am. I believed in you. I believed in you and Dad. And the fact that that this issue in this day and age is keeping you from me, like, however you want to frame it, but like, use that as a kind of measuring stick to really just get all of your thoughts out so that they're not weighing on you so much, and put it over to her. Send her an email with no expectations.
Okay, I mean, you hit the nail on the head as far as my feelings about, like, I have mommy issues, but like, as an adult, I feel like it was so jarring when that all happened. And I mean,
and also to maybe to posit a question, like, I would also love to understand how you really do you still feel this way? Do you really feel differently about your daughter? Like, help me understand how you were raised and what you were made to believe, so that I can gain a better understanding of where you are right now. Like, you know, throw her some questions that she can actually have to answer for herself. And then she's really going to have to contemplate, how do I explain feeling this way?
Okay, I love that advice. And I think, it seems so on the nose to like write a letter, and that's usually how, but that makes a lot of sense. And I think I think there's some leftover feelings that I haven't, that have come to the surface. And I really like that idea of just writing it down. I don't even need to send it to her, but at least having, putting it on paper. I really like that idea.
Put it on paper. And if you do send it to her, and you never hear back from her, then that's your answer. And if you do, and you never know when people in their old age, what kind of realizations they come to, and places that they go to, you might be surprised, but don't expect anything. Just try to exhaust what's inside of you with relation to losing your mom, like, in the way that you have, because it's kind of unforgivable, like, that is really hurtful.
Yeah.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
No, I would just say that, and this is more for way down the line, from now. You're obviously a young person, at least compared to me. So you've got some time on your hands, which is great. But
Rufus is 107, by the way.
Yeah. And I'm a dead composer. So anyways, but I have a lot of friends who are, and I'm 51 to admit it, but I've friends who are older now and my age, and who have not spoken to their parents in many, many years. And there's a distinct difference between those who eventually, and this is not they never got in touch with their parents again. Like, it was over. Like, if that happens, like, and I don't believe you have to, even see your parents if you have problems with them, but you kind of have to forgive them at some point in your heart, however you can. I just see a lot of older people who kind of held on to this resentment towards their parent that abused them. And it was like, I would just be mindful of that down the line. And when I say forgive, I mean, it's not even like, however you can, or just to let them free or something, from tormenting you. Cause, if it goes on any further, I hope it's settled sooner than that, but just way down the line, you have to let go of it at some point. I feel personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the thing they say about forgiveness is an inside job, sort of thing.
Yeah, and that's part of the process of healing yourself is just to exhaust those thoughts and those emotions. And even when they come up for you, you know what I mean? Like, even though it may feel like, oh, like I can understand a dynamic where your partner doesn't understand how or you know, you not understanding your mother's reaction or having difficulty with it with relationships or your partner. Like, I can understand that might be weird too, to even be like, oh God, it's so disappointing, or I miss my mom, or whatever, however your feelings might present. But like, really feel those feelings. You know, it's very valid to be emotionally harmed by an event like this. That's very valid. So like the healing component is just really important to like really try to always continue to heal. It's not just a one and done. It doesn't just happen in one sitting or one letter. It's a process of forgiveness. And every time these feelings come up, forgive her in a way where you don't have to communicate and be hanging out with her, but forgive her for her own ignorance, for the way she was raised, for whatever her parents did to her, you know?
Yeah, no, I love this advice and it's very validating. I think just hear it, you know, sometimes I'm like, am I being dramatic? But it's like, you know, which I think is a normal response in these situations, is for me to feel like I'm overreacting, but no, it has been unbelievably devastating and difficult. And then, you know, now that I'm feeling better and have healed a lot, I think, you know, I'm like, maybe I should dive back in that pool. But I don't think that's the right way to go about it. I love that idea of just writing it down. And also, Chelsea, I appreciate, you know, this is the worst thing that's ever happened in my life. I never would have pictured this. And I don't have that idea of, you know, it's not just one and done is really helpful to remember that it's a process.
Yes.
And it's gonna I'm not going to just wipe it away and make it go away.
Well, everyone always thinks when they're going through something like, oh, I thought I was over that. Why is this hitting me again? Why is this hitting me again? It was just a week ago. I thought for sure I'm done with this. That's the way grief happens. That's the way like emotions work. They kind of slowly drizzle out, but you have to give them the proper amount of respect and attention when they do come up.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and also just to address the emotions that you're feeling about like feeling selfish or feeling like you're being too extra, like I think that when you're in a relationship with someone like this who's not caring for your feelings, some people like this will injure you and then treat you like you're being too sensitive because you're bleeding. And like you made a decision to move farther away from the source of those injuries. And I think that's totally fine. So like, just remember, like, it's not your fault for being too sensitive. That's the one a lot of people use as like hypersensitive sort of thing. You made the right choice for you at the time, and there might be a different choice in front of you.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah. Thank you so much, you guys.
Yeah, for
Thanks,
sure.
Katie.
Bye.
Okay, we're going to take a break and we're going to be right back. And we're back with Rufus Wainwright, who has a show coming up in LA on May 4th. Dream Requiem, it's called. Where's the show, Rufus?
It's at Disney Hall.
That's such a beautiful venue.
And, no, I'm very excited about it. Yeah, very excited.
How does one rehearse for that? Do you go in earlier that day and rehearse?
Oh no, there's about 3 days of rehearsals with the orchestra and the chorus. Not a ton of time because it's so expensive. But what the great thing about Disney Hall though with me in this project is that I had composed the piece, Dream Requiem, but it wasn't quite finished. And I went to see a concert beforehand at Disney Hall. And when I got in there, I know they have one of the most amazing organs in the world at Disney Hall. It's this insane instrument that it looks great and it sounds incredible. And I sat there looking at the stage and at the organ, and I was like, oh my God, I have to have an organ in my piece. That sounded good. I need an organ. But so I then went back and composed the last little bit of the Requiem with that in mind, and now, you know, on May the 4th, I'm going to get to actually hear that organ play in the piece. So it was whatever. I just feel very fortunate.
Love
Yeah, that's gorgeous. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, well, awesome. Well, do we have anything else, Catherine? Or are we good?
I mean, I do have one little quickie if you want to.
Let's do a quickie to close out, for sure.
Okay.
All right, fantastic. So our last question today comes from Casey. Casey says, Dear Chelsea, I'm 28 and in a new relationship with a guy for 3 months. Recently, my boyfriend read my private journal without my permission. In my journal, I had written some things that weren't complimentary about him. Ooh. I love him very much, but also sometimes I just need to vent in my own private journal. After reading my journal, he confronted me about it, and instead of apologizing for reading it, he demanded I apologize for what I wrote, saying that what I did was much worse. Again, all I did was write personal thoughts in my private journal. I ended up apologizing because I was so caught off guard, but now I feel weird about it, and I feel like I don't have a safe space to write my personal thoughts anymore. I also feel like I can't trust that he won't read my journal again. Additionally, after this happened, he went and told his friends and other people about what I wrote, which felt really embarrassing and invasive, because I also wrote about some personal things I was going through. Is this a big red flag, or am I being dramatic? Casey.
No, that's a big red flag.
Yeah.
Huge.
You got to get far away from this person.
Yeah. No, that's an invasion of privacy.
Yeah,
like that is a reason to actually end a relationship.
Yeah.
You can't go through other people's private things. You just can't do that.
Yes. And I mean, like to blame you for like just being able to, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Absolutely. He should, First of all, if you read someone's, like you don't, that's supposed to be a secret. And then, and then he's it's like a double whammy. He did that, and then he wants to be mad at you about it. No,
and then he tells his friends about it. Which is
this is your, exactly. It's unbelievable. You're writing, where are you supposed to express yourself if it's not a safe place to write in your journal? Yeah. So no,
this guy's
that's a red flag. Break up with him as soon as you can. Problematic for sure. Yeah. Okay, Rufus, thank you so much for being here today. It was great talking to you.
Yes, it's great to see you again.
Yeah, and I hope I see you in person sometime soon.
Yes. We'll try to come on May the 4th if you're around. But and Jane's going to be amazing. She's May the 4th.
I would be there. I would come if I'm in LA. I have to look at my calendar and see if I'm in town on May. Okay. Okay. Bye, Rufus. Bye.
Bye.